Now, applied kinesiology. It was George Goodhart that had a phenomenal discovery in 1964. He got a book called Muscle Testing and Function by Kendall and Kendall to physical therapists from Baltimore, Maryland. And they showed how to test, manually test the various muscles throughout the body, which I show in my structural kinesiology certification program, and I learned from Goodhart, all these muscle tests. Goodhart found, first one to ever discover this, that you could take a muscle that is weak, it's inhibited. It was the anterior serratus was the first muscle. And you could do a reflex on the body. In this case, it was the origin insertion. In fact, let me have you do this. I want you to go right, the anterior serratus muscle has its origin insertion along the ribs here. And he was finding this one man, a patient of his, who couldn't get a job in the motor factories, Detroit, Michigan. And he said, "Doc, can you fix my shoulder?" And he looked at it, looking at Kendall's book, and he says, I see that your scapula is winging back. Now, when a muscle is weak, the body moves. See, muscles move bones, and so the scapula winging back, he said, that sounds like an anterior serratus from the book here. Well, then he ends up pushing on the arm down like this, totally weak. He didn't know what to do, but he thought, well, maybe it's atrophied. So he started palpating here. Rub along with me and see if yours is tender. And sure enough, oh my God, the guy said, that's really tender, doc. But he noticed the palpations, it kind of reduced. And then he said, well, let's check that muscle again. He tested again. It was strong as could be. And then this man named Ronald Fouché, he ended up getting a job in the motor factory. He says, doc, that's fantastic. Goodhart thought, wow, I didn't know you could immediately strengthen a weak muscle. So then he found that if he rubbed the origin insertion of a muscle, that generally would help when he would manually test it and it was weak. But it didn't always work. Then he discovered more points that I'll be demonstrating in just a moment when Alizé comes up, where other systems, particularly what's called neurolymphatic points, and if you've done Touch for Health or studied some AK, you know those are very prominent. These are neurological reflexes that not only connect to a muscle, write this down, they also connect to an organ and an acupuncture meridian. Goodhart was the first one to discover that muscles are associated with organs and reflexes. And then he discovered many, many more reflexes, as well as learning, specific acupressure points that can activate a muscle. We teach these points in my AK Fundamentals class, so I'll talk to you about later. But let's bring Alizé up, and I can demonstrate more about what AK is by you seeing it in action.